Welcome to my channel, Glorious English. If you want to learn English through real and emotional stories, you are in the right place. Today, we'll meet a woman who walked into darkness holding only a small lamp and changed the world forever. Who was she? Why did she leave her rich home to live among the sick? Stay with me to discover the moving story of Florence Nightingale, the lady with the lamp. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Listened to the Sick. A small girl sat near a candlelight window in Italy, watching her dolls lined up on the bed. She wrapped them in tiny pieces of cloth, pretending they were sick. That girl was Florence Nightingale, born on May 12th, 1820s, to a rich British family. While other girls of her age learned music and dresses, Florence was more interested in visiting poor villagers with her mother. She asked strange questions for her time. Why are people hungry? Why do they have no one to care for them? Her family loved her, but they wanted her to live like a lady, not a nurse. Nursing was seen as dirty and low work. But Florence's heart was stubborn. One evening, when a sick maid in her house was ignored by others, Florence sat beside her all night, giving her water and comfort. That small act of kindness gave Florence peace. She began to feel that God wanted her to heal others. Her parents disagreed, but she quietly studied books about health and hospitals in secret. Each night, she dreamed of a cleaner world where no one would suffer alone. That dream grew stronger every day, waiting for its moment to rise. Chapter 2. The Woman Who Chose a Hard Path. When Florence grew older, many men asked to marry her, but she said no to all. Her family worried that she would live a lonely life, yet she believed her mission was greater than marriage. Against her family's wishes, she went to Germany to learn nursing in a small hospital run by kind sisters. There, she cleaned floors, washed wounds, and helped people eat when they could not lift their hands. It was tiring and often painful, but she smiled through it. She wrote in her diary, "This is the work my soul was made for." When she returned to England, people were shocked. A rich woman working as a nurse. That was rare. But Florence was calm. She took charge of a hospital for poor women in London. She improved the food, cleaned the rooms, and taught other nurses to be gentle but strong. Every small change made patients live longer. Newspapers began to write about this brave woman who brought light into dark places. Her work soon reached the ears of British leaders. And soon, destiny knocked on her door in the form of war. Chapter 3. The Lamp That Shone in Darkness. In 1854, the Crimean War broke out. Many British soldiers were hurt, and hospitals were full of dirt, disease, and fear. Florence was asked to go with 38 nurses to help. When she arrived in Scutari, she was shocked. The floors were covered with blood, and sick men lay without food or care. The smell was terrible, but Florence did not cry or complain. She rolled up her sleeves, opened windows, cleaned every corner, and gave orders kindly but firmly. The soldiers watched her walk through the long halls at night, carrying a small lamp. Her face looked calm in its light. They began to call her the Lady with the Lamp. She talked gently to the sick, wrote letters for them, and gave them hope. When the army doctors saw how the death rate dropped, they started respecting her work. Florence did not rest, even when she became ill herself. She believed that light could fight darkness, not just in war, but in every heart that cared. Chapter 4: A Voice That Changed Hospitals. When the war ended, Florence returned home as a hero. People wanted to see her, but she stayed away from fame. Instead, she wrote long reports to the government, explaining how to make hospitals clean and safe. Her words were simple, but full of truth. Because of her ideas, new hospitals were built with windows, water supply, and separate beds. She started a nursing school in London, where young women were trained not just in care, but in kindness. Florence often visited hospitals quietly, talking to nurses and listening to their problems. Once she saw a nurse crying because a patient had died. Florence held her hand and said, "We cannot save everyone, but we can give love to all." That sentence stayed in that nurse's heart forever. Florence never wanted awards. She wanted change. Slowly, the image of the nurse changed in society, from a servant to a symbol of respect. Chapter 5: The Years of Silence and Wisdom. As years passed, Florence became weak. She had suffered sickness from the war and could not walk easily. Yet she never stopped working. From her bed, she wrote books about nursing, hospitals, and health. Many young nurses came to visit her, seeking advice. She smiled and said, "Begin with the small things. Clean one corner well, and soon the whole world will shine." As she refused grand parties and lived simply, surrounded by papers and letters. Even the Queen admired her, but Florence always said, "The real heroes are those who work quietly." Sometimes she looked out her window and remembered the soldiers' faces in the dim light. Though her body was weak, her mind stayed bright. When people thanked her for her service, she only replied, "It was never about me. It was about the people." Chapter 6: The Light That Never Faded. On August 13th, 1910, Florence Nightingale passed away peacefully at the age of 90. The world mourned, but she had already left her most beautiful gift: the spirit of care. Nurses across the world lit candles in her memory, saying, "Her lamp still burns." Today, every hospital, every nurse carries a part of her dream. In London, her school still trains nurses who follow her lessons of love, patience, and discipline. When we hear the soft steps of a nurse walking in the night, helping a patient, that is Florence's legacy living again. She taught that one person's kindness can change millions of lives. Her story reminds us that true light doesn't need noise or fame. It shines quietly, in clean hands, soft voices, and gentle hearts. Somewhere tonight, a nurse lifts her lamp beside a patient's bed. and the spirit of Florence Nightingale smiles in the glow. If this story touched your heart, like and share the video. And don't forget to subscribe for more beautiful English stories. Watch, listen, and learn English naturally, only on Glorious English.